Andrew Tate triggers this feminist with the truth into a total meltdown, calling him a misogynist on Piers Morgan Uncensored, as Piers Morgan plays this clip with Andrew Tate spitting facts, while this independent woman starts attacking Andrew Tate, accusing him of hating women. Let's get in.
If I were to see a girl on a private plane on Instagram, for example, I would assume that a man put her on that private plane. I would not assume she bought it herself.
What if it was...
Perhaps that makes me misogynistic.
What about the Afghan women?
It's nothing to do with me on any level.
You don't have a view?
I have a view. My view is that people naturally gravitate towards law and order, and if you didn't have the Taliban, you'd have different warlords operating in lawlessness, and there would be no way to prevent your store or your market stall getting completely robbed by someone with an AK-47, and people are going to gravitate towards a form of law and order. America left. They left a power vacuum, and the power vacuum is now full.
What about their treatment of women? I mean, only tonight they have banned any women from going to university.
Fantastic. Let's get the feminists to go and teach them a lesson. The feminists are so tough, and they stand up and say they can do anything a man can do. Let's arm them up and send them to Afghanistan. I'm sure they'll fix it.
Why can't you just say, on that, you know what, it's completely wrong?
Because it's not my point. I don't understand.
But it makes me think, it'll make your critics think that you don't think it's wrong.
They could ban all men. They could ban all short people.
But they're not. They're only banning women.
Correct. They could ban all short people. They could ban all people with long hair. And none of it's anything to do with me. So they can do whatever they want. I'm not going to go to war with the Taliban.
Do you think you're a misogynist?
Absolutely not. I'm not a misogynist on any level. This is one of those buzzwords they just throw at people randomly. Homophobic, racist, misogynist. They just throw it out at people.
Well, joining me now is Talk TV contributor Esther Krakow and a trembling broadcaster and journalist, Jenny Kleeman, visibly recoiling in horror. Let's start with you, Jenny. He's not your idea of a role model.
Well, no, he's not. I see him as a symptom of a problem rather than a solution to it. I can understand why...
What's the problem that he's the symptom
The
for?
problem is that I think a lot of young men feel that nobody is speaking up for them. In a culture where we are encouraged to have identity politics, the only identity that isn't a good identity is a young man or a young white male. He talks in a very straight way and he gives straight answers to some questions, which I think he gives very wrong answers to. But I find him repellent. I think he talks about... He basically creates straw men that he destroys. So he will depict feminism as a particular kind of thing, a kind of man-hating thing, which it isn't.
Well, it is for some feminists.
For a small number of feminists.
I mean, there are some radical feminists who genuinely hate men.
There definitely are. But most people know that feminism is about just thinking that everyone should have equal opportunities regardless of...
Yeah, and one thing we know from Afghanistan, and these heartbreaking scenes today in Afghanistan of weeping female students who couldn't go to university, and men actually in Afghanistan then going out in protest for them. I mean, really heart-rending scenes, Esther, here of these young women in Afghanistan weeping because they've been told they cannot now continue their education. And then you've got male students walking out in protest. Very brave thing to do. A bit like we saw in Iran with the men protesting in support of the women being oppressed there. This is where he slightly lost me last night, Andrew Tate. There are a lot of things he says which I understand why young men, you feel a bit lost, why they gravitate to his confidence. He's very good at building business. He's proven it. He's made himself extremely rich doing it. A lot of what he says about masculinity and stuff, I completely would sign up to, actually. Yeah. And his confidence can help people. But when he was not prepared to condemn
these
the
10th century
Taliban
barbarians
for that, because that to me is an open and shut case. If you don't condemn it, then I'm afraid you've got a problem. And it's not about sending feminists in to go to war. As I pointed out to him.
Which I actually do think is a valid point.
Well, it's fine, but a lot of women do actually fight in the armed forces.
Yeah,
so
I think
the idea that none of them
them
do is also nonsense.
I think he was using that to kind of attack the more extreme forms of feminism that says, you know, women can do anything a man can do. And he was using that as an example. Yeah. But I do think, you know, you lose people when you refuse to outright condemn sort of 10th century barbarians like this. But I don't think when he said it has nothing to do with him, I think he's not willing to get into dicey territory in that way. But it's like you speak in such absolute terms. Why
Do you think
not?
he's a misogynist?
I don't think he's a misogynist. No, I don't think so.
I mean, a misogynist means somebody who hates women.
Yeah,
I don't think he hates women.
I do think he hates women. I think he thinks
don't think he
women
does.
are nothing. I think he would not know what to do with you and I, Esther, because he does not know how to deal. He gives interviews to people like you or to Hugo Rifkin. He'll give interviews to men.
But a lot of women I've spoken to about... Yeah, but a lot of women...
But he's done interviews with women. I've seen them before on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's very polite and
he
respectful.
Yeah, women do. A lot of women do like him.
Exactly.
There are a lot of women who don't know him who seem to hate him, ironically. But I'm not sure it's as clear-cut as he's a misogynist.
I don't think he's a misogynist, and I have a brother who's probably within his target demographic, 23, and I can understand why his message would resonate with him, because it's normal.
I can understand why the
it's
message
normal,
would
exactly,
resonate.
for
I
young
just-
men to feel like they don't have a place in Western society, and he actually makes that point. I just think when you don't want to outright condemn 10th century barbarians like the Taliban, you tend to lose your case with more moderate people. But again, we're not his target audience.
The fact that
That's
his understanding about what's happening in Afghanistan is that it's a feminist issue rather than a human issue.
I don't think he said that.
Well, no, he did. He said, send this feminists in. It's a human issue where we made all these promises to people in Afghanistan and then we left.
Well, let's be
Women
clear.
built their life on
We
it.
betrayed those women.
We absolutely betrayed Biden.
Joe
As a human
Biden,
being,
in the way we pulled out of
completely.
Afghanistan overnight, and we betrayed not only people who work with us, the interpreters and so on,
But people
we
who
have left
died for them.
millions of Afghan women have just been tossed back to these barbaric
and
wolves.
servicemen who died for it. But the fact that he sees it, he says, oh, it's got nothing to do with me. As a human being, it should have something to do with it. As someone who says he's a
No,
proud
I agree.
Brit, it should
I
have
thought it was a
something to do with
cop out there. But albeit, again, a lot of what he says, I could imagine if I was a young man, it would resonate with me, probably for the right reasons. I think he's trying to give people confidence and a belief that being masculine is not actually a stick to beat you with, right? You can be a good masculine person. He used to be applauded.
Andrew Tate is not a misogynist, and there's two things that this feminist just does not understand. One, she doesn't understand what Andrew Tate is saying. Look, what his point is if you're such an independent woman or you are such proud feminists, why don't you go fight the wars for yourselves? Because here's the thing, feminism only exists because men let it happen. It's the only reason feminism exists is because it has male force to enforce it. That is the only reason it exists. So, for all these calls of equal rights and equal opportunities, why don't you go fight your own battles? If you are so unhappy about what's going on in Afghanistan, why don't you get off the couch, grab a gun, go over there and deal with it yourself instead of sending men to do the war for you? There's a handful of women in the military, but not enough to actually do anything, let's be real. But yeah, this is the whole point he was trying to make. Fight your own battles. Fight your own battles and stop sending men to go keep feminism in place because you can't do it yourselves. And that's the worst thing about feminism is it turns men against themselves and against their own interests. And the other thing, that women like this don't even understand with the huge dating problem that's happening all across Europe, all across the West, America, between men and women. What's one of the biggest things women always complain about? They can't find a husband. They can't find one who makes enough money. They can't find one who has enough resources. Why? Because women went into the workforce. Why? Because they got educated, they got degrees. And now you have all of these women in workforces who can't find partners or men that they're attracted to. Like this, the men and women are not equal, and putting them in mass into the workforce has completely thrown off the balance between man and woman. For all of the progressive ideas the left has, I guarantee they probably didn't see that one coming. So in reality, this woman can hate Andrew Tate and call him names, call him a misogynist, and accuse him of hating women, but she is unwilling and incapable of fighting her own battles to protect other women, to create the reality that is of today, where you can't even find a husband, and then we have the huge depopulation crisis that we have going on now. Like, that's the consequence of all this, and she doesn't even see it. But folks, thanks for watching. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought about what Andrew Tate had to say, triggering this feminist into this meltdown. Thanks again, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.